Hey everybody, welcome back to Northernlion. Please abiding by the AFTERBIRTH Plus. I owe you a reset. Let's do a lost run. We should not have lost our previous run. Dude, I forgot we had Eden's Blessing on our previous run as well. We should not have lost that run. I'm not afraid. Who knows it? Please God, if this is a black market, we're living the dream. Are you kidding me? Free items out the wazoo? Hold on, let me get this damage upgrade before we fight, dude. Hey! Said, let me get this damage upgrade before we fight. I have remote detonator, I'm sorry. So a black market on a lost run is essentially like as close as you can really get to, you know, dream come true territory early on. Obviously, we want the compass. I mean, I'll tell you, we honestly want the Bible because we can also use the Bible as fodder for bookworm. Bookworm. I don't know why I said it like that. As fodder for bookworm. Anyway, and this is exactly what you want to see early on. It's nuts. It's incredible. You guys notice how many simulator games have started coming out? I know I've been, you know, talking about the state of games for a bit now. It's because I haven't been in school for a little bit, so I've been playing a lot more video games. It's kind of the way she goes. You know what? Sure. This is a little comeuppance, a little penance was what I was going to say. Not a little penis. That's a different thing altogether. We'll see. Google DeepMind. Let's see if you can deal with that. I noticed because tomorrow a game comes out on Steam that's called like Policeman Simulator. And I gotta admit, a lot of simulators, they haven't tickled my fancy. But something about Policeman Simulator, it's got me interested. You know, law enforcement in general is kind of it's a contentious subject on planet Earth right now, particularly in the United States of America. You know, I'm not really interested in getting involved in that discussion because I'm not Justin. However, suffice it to say, I never really I was not one of those kids who was like, when I grow up, I want to be a police officer. For the most part, I was kind of under the impression that being a police officer, well, you know, maybe the least contentious thing we could say is that at least in principle, is kind of a noble pursuit, right? It's kind of like being a teacher. You don't necessarily make all that much money, and you're doing a job that's risky. And teaching's not really a risky job, I suppose, but you get what I mean, you know? I think we navigated that minefield relatively well. I never wanted, and this maybe won't surprise you, given that you know me, if you've been watching these episodes, but, you know, I never really wanted the noble profession, to be honest. It's not to say, I mean, I suppose teaching is noble in its own way, but teaching ESL I mostly just did, to be honest, less for the art of teaching and more for the fact that it was like, you're gonna pay me to live in another country? That's almost like traveling for free. Spoilers. It's not. It's a lot like working in an unfamiliar place. That's more of how I would describe it. Anyway, what was I gonna say? That being said, it seems like one of those jobs I would never want in real life that I could actually get down with in digital form. You know, obviously you want to be a noble officer, you know? I don't want to be taking bribes under the table. I just want to be using my radar gun. And if somebody's doing like 5 miles an hour over the speed limit, hey buddy, hit him with the lights maybe. But don't actually pull him over. Someone's doing like 20 over the speed limit. Sorry, Buster. Gonna have to give you the electric chair. I think there are, you know, some of the simulators we played, to be honest, are professions that I think I wouldn't mind in real life. That's not to say I want to do them, but rather, like, I don't think I would hate doing them. Like, to be honest, I think I could mentally handle... People always assume, by the way, they're like, oh, yeah, streamer, you really think you could do what I do? Well, you know, not on day one. I'm just saying, like, mentally, I think, you know, I could have the acumen to do it. the huge acumen. So I'm taking a big risk by doing this. But, you know, don't just because I sit in the chair and I wake up when I want and I eat meals containing raw fish at least a couple of times a week, don't think that I've always lived with a silver spoon in my mouth. I worked as a mover, admittedly for only a day, because after that day, I got a job at Goodwill, which was kind of like doing a lot of moving-based stuff, but also plus garbage and a little bit of human interaction. And I worked as a teacher, glorified daycare. But to be honest, there's simulation-based games. Some jobs I think I could handle. It's not in the cards for us in this life, and nor do I romanticize it. But I don't think I would die as a farmer. I'm more of a morning person than you'd expect. And I appreciate the value of a good day's physical labor. I also grew up in an area where there were farmers around, like, all the time. Like, I lived next to, like, 6 farmers. Occasionally helped them out. Now, I wasn't much of a farmer kid, to be honest. But as an adult, come to respect it more. Similarly, again, I don't really want to do it because I think that there's definitely, you know, downsides to the job. But trucking, there's something about it that is just like, if you choose to romanticize it, if you don't romanticize it, it sounds boring. Mostly boring, I guess, would be the easiest way to, you know, discount it, right? You're like, okay, so you're driving your, honestly, we don't really need free stuff right now. You're driving the same interstate, you know, 365 days a year, driving 14 hours a day. Not everybody's cup of tea. But when I think about trucking, I think about driving, something I don't unenjoy, and, you know, I'm okay with driving. I don't find it that boring. I find it just like it's like a casual video game. And then on top of that, listening to the radio, podcasting, etc., etc. Not podcasting, but listening to podcasts and stuff like that. It's one of the reasons why, like, no! The idea of having a commute is, like, bizarrely kind of like, I know it sucks, because I have commuted before. Sorry, we just got scared there. That's even scarier, honestly. Actually, this gives us more time to use brimstone. Might be worth it. The longer our charge time, I think the more likely we're going to be able to get off a brimstone shot. This is a little wonky, though. I'm not saying a commute is good. I love working from home. I haven't forgotten what it's like to spend, like, you know, 40 minutes of your life to and from work in traffic. However, you know, I have a cousin, and the real estate market in Vancouver is terrible. He lives in the lower mainland area. And he was like, yeah, we just moved to, like, an hour away. So with traffic, it's like an hour and a half commute every day. And it sucked at first, but then I just started, like, downloading a bunch of podcasts. And I was like, you know what? That actually sounds kind of nice. Now, I could just sit at home and listen to podcasts, but I'm never going to do that. There's other, better entertaining stuff going on down here. I'm not complaining. Anyway, I'm just saying. I like a road, not a road trip necessarily. Like, I would almost always rather fly than drive someplace. But I can get a lot of entertainment out of just looking out of the window as well. It's the only child syndrome, dude. Anyway, I don't want to be a police officer, though. That would be a job you would have to, like, conscript me into. Like, on the noble spectrum of jobs, I think I would rather be a firefighter than a police officer. Don't hit me. Please. I just want to shout. I can't really explain why either. Like, I'm not suggesting it's safer to be a firefighter than a police officer. I don't know if that's true. But I guess it's like when you're a firefighter, you're not always, people aren't always happy to see you. It's not like they're like, oh, sick, my house is on fire. I never thought I'd get to meet you guys. But at least, you know, when you're a cop, a lot of the time that you see people is probably like, you know, they're not happy to see you. They're like, oh no, who called the cops? At least when you're a firefighter, you're like, no one's ever like, the fire, that's why I like the term firefighter instead of like fireman. Because a fireman does sound like the king's executioner. That's like, he can choose to put out the fire or he can choose to start the fire, brother. I knew it, still. So, this is a very interesting slash like a horrible run. It's actually obviously great, and I hope that that's, you know, everybody's aware of that. But it does also suck. It's all of the above. Because the damage is out of control. But our fire rate is also 174, which is bad in its own right. But then, on top of all this, is the fact that we also, at regular intervals, shoot bombs out of our face on our way to getting beams out of our face. And that's gonna be an adjustment. 4 damage doesn't mean too much here, but really what I'm trying to do is get to any trinket that gives us a tiers upgrade. I think that'll be worth quite a lot. When it works, dude. Sure. It doesn't have to be the cancer trinket. Could be any of the stat up trinkets, including the ones that are affected by whether or not our trinket is charged. I'll take it. But we need some kind of tiers upgrade here. I think that was scary. Mostly because against bosses in particular, you know, life's gonna be a little hard. Although for right now, most slash like maybe all enemies will die to a single brimstone hit. It's not guaranteed that we're always going to be able to get a brimstone hit out before we get hit twice. Like, that room was actually a pretty good example. We could also stop charging brimstone and just go straight for the ipecac shots. Those are also a little spooky, though. I mean, you could gauge based on how we're doing right now. I'm not really that scared. Like, the damage on this run is also pretty much unparalleled. There's just, like, a little interesting danger associated. Anyway. It's also weird to me how the term simulator has been, like, it now has 2 meanings, if that makes sense. Like, on the one hand, there's developers that are, like, mostly based in Germany, that are like, hey, you ever wanted to drive this really specific brand of city bus? And you're like, well, not till today. Mon petit bunt cake. I gotta be honest, I don't know that much German, okay? And mon petit is not German at all. I apologize. I do have a, you know, a pretty sizable German audience. I thought I would try to interface with you. You know, I like the Bundesliga. I don't really watch it, but, you know, I like the idea of it. And the Bayern Münchens and the Dortmunds and the etc., etc. I like video games, and you guys have a big convention called Gamescom. I've never been, but again, I support it. You got some NHL players. You got Leon Draisaitl, who still, to me, sounds like a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in Time level. Neon. I say Neon? Well, that's because it is Neon. Neon Knight Riders. Leon Draisaitl. And also Leroy Jenkins. Where am I going with this? Anyway. So yeah, there's like, hey, have you ever wanted to drive a Zamboni? Yeah, well, that's Zamboni's DLC, but you can drive a Zamboni in our game, and I think that's cool. Yo. Yo, there's like a lot of amazing stuff here. I still think we gotta, don't shoot the messenger on that. We gotta live, dude. We're not living through that. Even with Dark Judas. I don't want to give up the Lost. I mean, to win as Dark Judas is easy. To win as the Lost is the real challenge. If we end up having to take the consolation prize, so be it, but... I actually think Flies will be better. And then Blank Rune again. I don't know what that was. Anyway. Then there's like other simulators that are always like, poop your butt simulator. And I'm like, ah. If I was a real fan of simulator games, I think that would frustrate me. Because I'd be like, you know, when somebody brings up a simulator to you, you're never gonna know which kind of simulator is it. Poop your butt simulator, or like highly specific, you know, forklift operator simulator. There's no way to know, dude. Well, I mean, based on the name, you could definitely tell. But like, in theory, there's no way to know or something. Okay, that's a big fire rate increase, hopefully. Minus 31. It's pretty good. Might as well snag this. It's, by the way, don't take this the wrong way. People call Canadians charming sometimes, and it's always like an insult. I know, you might not realize it. I don't have any problem with America, okay? All I do is give you a Canadian's perspective on how Americans tend to speak to us sometimes, and it's definitely not all Americans, but it does happen from time to time. They're like, I love y'all up there. Y'all are so cute. And you're like, please, first off, you want cute? Let's go back to the War of 1812. You want to talk about freaking cute. You know, one country doesn't call another country cute. We're big political animals duking it out in a geopolitical atmosphere. You know, it's insulting to call another country cute. Either way, I get that it's well-meaning. I'm overreacting a little bit, but so I'm trying not to do the same thing. But I do find it charming that for whatever reason, my stereotypical caricature of a German that plays video games is like just a dude who's like, you know, I'm like an architect. And then when I go home, I like to unwind and do something a little mindless, like digital recreation of someone else's job. Stopping at bus stops and keeping to a tight schedule so the citizens of Dortmund can get to work on time. There's something about that that's it's just downright hardening. And I don't know, you might be watching this and you're like, you know, I'm from Germany and I play Counter-Strike. Yeah, I believe you. You're probably better than I am too. There's Canadians out there. Like, I never got it, but I've become so much more of a simulation gamer in the past, like, you know, few years. You know what actually did it? And it's gonna sound stupid, but multiplayer video games are harder than any simulator that's ever been released. Having to compete with the younger generation in, like, PUBG? Dude, I would rather open my own farm in Farming Simulator. At least if I do everything right, I'm just playing that game inefficiently, and I'm not gonna, like, suffer economic ruin, you know? If I play PUBG, even if I do everything to the best of my own, you know, baby boomer abilities, pretty decent chance, you know, Shroud Jr. is gonna pop out of the bushes and kill me from 300 yards away. That's why it's nice to just be, unwinding, you know, hanging out on the farm, planting some crops, and if you're like, you know what, we do, hey, watch out, there's a boy in the bushes, just kidding, that's canola. I respect that, you know, I'm excited for Microsoft Flight Simulator coming back. You know, I like X-Plane. Don't tell my wife, but I've been considering 39 damage up, good God. I've been considering, you know, once we move, if I got a little bit more space, try out some, like, simulation racing stuff, because you're not going to believe me, but if there's a genre of video games that I'm actually half decent at, it's, like, racing games. And I know, I'm not talking about Mario Kart, okay? I'm talking about, you know, your Gran Turismos and stuff like that. Your Forzas. So I've been, like, you know, I've been playing a decent amount of F1 2018 over the course of, you know, the past, I don't know, 8 months. But, you know, playing F1 2018 with a PlayStation 4 controller is not, I mean, I would describe it as not even close to very bad. I think it's very fun. But to get like even a cheap wheel and pedal setup, oh, now you're tickling my fancy. To be honest, like, you know, people think I regret buying the HOTAS to play X-Plane. Absolutely not. The HOTAS was like $50. I played like 10 hours of X-Plane on it, if not more. And I gotta tell you, it provided me with more than $5 an hour worth of entertainment. There's no doubt in my mind about that specific fact right there. Dude, this is like the fastest run we've ever had. I mean, we did have triple-digit damage, like Guy Fieri's show on the Food Network. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the episode. If you did, click the like button. Helps out a great deal. Of course, subscribe if you want to see more in the future. For now, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time. I'll see ya!